It can be so frustrating when we teach our kids really good values, really good skills, and they still somehow copy their peers' poor behavior. And there's some surprising reasons why this happens. I want to dive into the science behind why this happens so that we can develop some practical parenting strategies to help foster some really good positive behavior in our kids. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Serena Reagan, and I'm a child psychologist and a certified play therapist. So by the time kids are in preschool, as young as 2, they start mimicking their peers. And suddenly you notice your little adorable child picking up on behaviors you never wanted them to do in the first place, or ones that you told them to stop doing so much and they still continue to do them. So why do they do this? That's what I want to uncover today. The first reason is actually because of attachment, the desire for them to belong. So when your 2-year-old or older eagerly mimics what you do, they've got a toy spatula and they're cooking like you, or they're wearing your clothes, or they're using the words that you use, or trying to smile like you do, or use the same walk that you've got, what's happening? This behavior actually stems from something deeply rooted inside of us, and that's our deep desire to belong. We were created to be in relationship. We were created to be in attachment. According to Gordon Neufeld, a leading child psychologist and attachment researcher, there's actually 6 stages of attachment that we go through as children in the first 6 years of life if everything unfolds properly, that are essential to developing a really healthy, secure attachment to our parents, and then our friends, and then the rest of the world. And one of those stages of attachment actually happens at the age of 2, and that is our need for sameness. So first stage of attachment is actually sensory, and then the second year of attachment is sameness. We were hardwired to emulate those we were attached to. And that's usually parents and caregivers. But imitation is not just about copying behaviors, it's about connection and a deep sense of belonging. So children mimic your behaviors, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, to create a sense of we-ness, to create a shared identity that this is my culture, my family, my space, and those are the others. And this creates a secure attachment, a secure relationship, a safety in that space. It's essential to living, it's essential to life, and it's really important as a foundation to your parenting authority. The second reason is that children actually learn by watching. We all do. And this is talked about really deeply in something called the social learning theory. Social learning theory was first brought out on the scene by a famous psychologist named Albert Bandura. And essentially what this theory is learning through observation and copying. The first step is paying attention. Kids notice when something's happening. The second step is remembering. They store it in their brains as something to do. The third step is they practice it. And then the fourth step is whether they get rewarded or punished for doing that behavior. If they're rewarded, for example, through laughter from other kids or attention, they'll do it again. But if they're punished, like they get in trouble for it, or the other kids around them get frustrated with them, then they're not going to do it again. And this is essentially what social learning theory is. And also a really good reason why it's important to model positive behaviors we want to see in our kids, because when they're attached to us, they want to do what we do, sameness. And when they do what we do, they want to model it, practice it, and then do it. So the third reason that kids copy other kids' behaviors is actually because of peer pressure. So even at a young age, kids experience peer pressure. So this can seem surprising because even in kindergarten, kids seem so innocent and carefree, and yet they're starting to become aware of societal pressures and social norms, and they're observing what other kids are doing and whether they belong or not belong, and they want to belong. And so why is peer pressure so important, even way back at such a young age? First of all, it's the desire to belong. We all have a desire to be a part of a group, and kids are no different. They want to belong to a group of other kids, other friends, and we feel rooted and secure and happy when we're together within a group versus isolated from the group. Another reason that peer pressure happens is actually identity development. So right across the lifespan, and especially with younger kids into adolescence, they're trying on different hats to see, do I like this? And do I want to keep it as part of my personality? Or do I prefer this and want to keep it as part of my personality? And so they'll copy peer behaviors, positive or negative, to try them out, test them on for size, and then keep them if they like them and toss them if they don't. Another reason why peer pressure happens is a deep fear of rejection. So when kids are doing something, especially if it's a larger group of kids doing something, or maybe a more powerful, confident child doing something, they don't want to be rejected by that individual. And so they're going to follow those same behaviors in order to be included and not isolated from everyone or ridiculed for not doing it. And another reason why peer pressure happens is because kids seek approval. And they seek approval, especially if they're lacking self-confidence. And self-confidence can be a struggle right from preschool. A fourth reason why children will copy other children actually has to do with self-regulation. What is self-regulation? It's actually a superhero that helps us control our thoughts, our actions, our impulses. It's our ability to pause, think, and make good choices, and is actually quite different than self-control. Self-control is a skill that happens later in development and something I can talk about in another video if there's interest for that. So when kids have good self-regulation skills, they are so much better at resisting peer pressure. They're able to say no to things that really aren't good for them, and they know more confidently that they're not good for them. They can manage their emotions better, so they can feel them all. It's not about not feeling sad or mad or frustrated, but they can be sad and mad and frustrated, manage that without falling apart. Self-regulation helps them focus on tasks so they can get things done without getting distracted. So what does this have to do with copying the behaviors of other kids? When kids have really strong self-regulation skills, they can be independent thinkers. They can think through problems, they can think through experiences, and they can understand whether the behavior is appropriate or not and what those consequences might be, and then choose to do otherwise. They're less likely to follow the crowd, and they're more likely to challenge the status quo. And then self-regulation also gives them really good emotion skills. They're better able to stay calm under pressure and less likely to make impulsive decisions that they'll regret later. Number 5, another reason why kids may copy other kids or not has to do with their cognitive development. And cognitive development actually affects a child's ability to have really good self-regulation skills. So the younger the child, the less able they are to control certain things because they don't have the brain connections in place yet to have the skills of self-regulation and have the connections with their upper brain that's logic and reasoning and problem solving, so they can step back, think about the situation, and then choose how they want to act. So think of your child's brain as a building under construction. So the younger the child, the more busy the construction site. Right now, the brain is building new rooms and building pathways to connect all these rooms. The new rooms and pathways are all of the skills and the connections and ability to use those skills that your child is just developing. And self-regulation and resistance to peer pressure are 2 of those skills that they're learning. So as they grow, they should get more and more skilled at this and less likely to follow their peers' lead or to copy the behaviors that you're just not so proud of at home. As they grow up, these connections get stronger. Their brain has more rooms, and so they're better able to remember values, morals, rules, consequences, expectations of behavior, and they also have this desire to please you, and so their ability to follow through on expectations in a positive way is more likely to happen. And the last reason has to do with their developmental stage. So again, kind of connected to cognitive development as well, but here kids are really focused on the world around them, experimenting, cause and effect. If I try this, what's going to happen? If I try this, what's going to happen? What's going to be the response of my peers if I act this way? And sometimes they don't yet understand whether an action is appropriate or not, and they're really just going for the reaction of their peers to see what's going to happen. For them, laughter is a huge motivator. So even for you, if you notice them doing something at home and it's kind of cute but not appropriate, even if you give just a little bit of a smile, that's going to increase the likelihood that behavior is going to happen in the future. Kids will always pick up on behaviors and environment around them. And in a family or group setting with their peers, laughter can feel like such a huge reward and really make them feel like they belong. Going back to one of our first points, the desire to belong. And this is especially true when they're surrounded by people who encourage their curiosity and interaction within the world. And then as children grow, they start to understand a little bit more about when and why certain behaviors are okay and certain behaviors are not okay. But in their early years, your response as a parent really plays a huge role in whether the behaviors stick or they don't stick. So at this point, I wouldn't worry too much about your child mimicking behaviors because they're learning, they're putting on hats, they're trying to understand how society works and what the norms are. It's how you respond to these behaviors that will determine if they stick, how long they stick, and what they learn about what's appropriate and why. By balancing encouragement with teaching, you can teach your child not just about how to get positive reactions from other people, but also to understand and respect social norms as they get older. If you're interested in learning strategies to build up your child's emotional strength, including their ability to self-regulate, download my free workbook, Raising Resilient Kids. I'll put the link below. It's packed with practical tips on how to navigate some of these challenges and a lot of tools and activities to help teach your child regulation skills and the highly coveted social skills. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and then share it with other parents who need some of this information just to get an understanding of why their child does what they do. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.